I see all these talking heads, Rachel, declaring that the Lakers are real title contenders right now. Are you buying the Lakers as top contenders?
I mean, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to have something to say there. I guess my question mark about the Lakers is how far they can go without that defensive presence in the middle. And sort of we had a situation in the West where being big seemed to be the trend, right? And the Lakers basically beat Denver the other night. Let's say small ball, but certainly a version of going with smaller lineups. I think Kevin O'Connor over at Yahoo had a great stat that they doubled Nikola Jokic more than he has ever been doubled in any game, playoffs or regular season, for his entire career. He was doubled more than 30% of the time. And so,
which is always the double-edged sword with Jokic, right?
Sure,
like you send a double, he can carve you up with passing. You don't, he'll carve you up with.
And yet, the Lakers won. So
Big,
does that hold over a 7-game series? Does that hold now that they've shown Michael Malone what they want to do against Jokic, and he has 4 months to game plan versus what he's going to do if and when they meet in the playoffs? I don't know. But there was a time when the Minnesota Timberwolves looked like a force, a rising force in the West, right? After they left that Western Conference Finals last year, we all thought, man, years to come, Anthony Edwards, such a star, this team together, they really have everything. They're a big team. Denver is a big team. You know, we worried a little bit. Oklahoma City, how much presence do they have? Chet's not that big, sort of, you know, that sort of thing. The Lakers, my gosh, if they make this trade and they don't replace Anthony Davis, how are they ever going to compete? But I don't know if any of that's true anymore. What do you think?
So the offensive effectiveness I buy as being sustainable. 8th in offensive efficiency over these last 8 games that I was referring to. The 3-point numbers have gone up. They're 9th in 3-point attempts during that stretch. They're 11th in 3-point percentage. They have become more 3-point heavy with Luka in the lineup, which is not surprising because you're replacing a non-3-point shooter in Anthony Davis with a 3-point shooter in Luka Doncic. The defensive stuff, though, is kind of wild.
But that's what I'm asking. So my opening sentence to you is defensive presence in the middle, right? And how much attack you can take. I mean,
some of the numbers last 8 games, though, they have the 3rd best defense in the league over the last 8. They have a better defense than Boston over the last 8, which is insane. Now, some of that is schedule. They have not played a lot of great teams during this stretch. They played some very bad teams, in fact, during this stretch. They have been playing some of their better defenders. You're seeing more Jared Vanderbilt in these games, more Dorian Finney-Smith in these games. They're playing more small ball at times during these games, and that certainly helped. Finney-Smith is very good. They also don't foul, which I teams that I've talked to about them say that's part of their defensive effectiveness. They're bottom 5 in the league, I think, in terms of fouls committed. So there's that. But you use the word sustainable, and I don't see it. I can't see a team where you look at the minutes leaders, Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, LeBron James. 2 of those 3 are below average defenders. LeBron, when he dials it up, can be above average, but how long can he dial that up there? At some point, they're going to get gouged. Yeah. That's just kind of my take on all this. Like, I think that they're going to be able to score with any team in the NBA. And if you get into a shootout with the Lakers and it's close in the 4th quarter, then they're going to be in a position to beat you. But if your starting center is Jackson Hayes and you're relying on Alex Len to give you significant minutes down the stretch when you just picked him up off the street, that's not a recipe for success. I think they're going to be in a lot of trouble defensively.
It's just the problem. Once you get to the words title contenders, you're talking about the best in the league, 1 or 2 in the entire league. That is so different from the regular season, right? So all of these regular season's numbers you're throwing out, all of these teams that they're beating, as you point out, not great opponents in a lot of places, having success now is not necessarily an indicator for having success once you get to the Final 4 of the playoffs. I think that's just, people are getting swept up in this, like, oh my God, they're doing so well here. It's a little bit different. Now, do I think that they have a better shot than they did pre-trade? I actually do. Even without AD in the center.
Do you think they have a better shot with this team?
I do.
Really? See, I don't think they have a shot with either team.
I don't think they have a shot. By the way, I agree. Yeah. I don't think they have a shot with either team. But I do think that they have a chance to go further with this team only because Luka does stuff.
Yeah.
In a way where he takes over a game and just does stuff, and you get 1 or 2 of those wins a
4
series,
steals the other day.
Right?
Great defense.
But seriously, and he's a defensive stalwart. We've
JJ
always
Redick,
said that about
defensive
him.
player of the year.
We've always
First
said
team all
Luka
defense.
Doncic, first team all defense.
Let's go.
But
get your votes out.
But there's just more of an opportunity for that sort of magic breakout, whatever. I also think the energy level of the Lakers is totally different. You and I are both around that team a lot. There had just been a
that comes up a lot
staleness.
with coaches that I talk to. The energy level they play with. There's a connectivity they're playing with right now.
That's different. I mean, the combo had gotten stale. Things had gotten stale. Everybody felt like, even with JJ coming in, that he was just sort of working with the same roster that his predecessor had. So really, what's changing? That kind of thing. And I think the energy around the team, when you talk about, oh, they don't foul that much, that stuff matters, right? That discipline matters. The energy and effort they put forth on defense. You know, when you talk about how successful they've been defensively over the last 20 games, it's because of energy and effort. It's certainly not because of physical makeup. So therefore, all of that stuff tells me they are a better team post-trade than they were pre-trade in terms of advancing further in these playoffs. But would I say that has tipped my balance in terms of, are they a title contender? Not for me right now.
So where would you put them in?
I put them in the Western Conference Finals.
You'd put them in the Western Conference Finals.
I would say that they could get there. Did I expect, if you and I had been sitting here, you're looking at me.
I can't.
But if you and I had been
can't get over a team with like this many minus defenders.
Let me ask you a question. The third week in February of last year,
yes,
would you have predicted either of the last two Western Conference Finals teams?
Last year, was it Minnesota and Dallas?
Yes.
Probably not. I would have said Denver would still have gotten there. Maybe Oklahoma City would have gotten there.
You would
maybe
never,
Minnesota would
you
have gotten
definitely would not have said Dallas.
Definitely not have said Dallas. Especially when Dallas made a midseason trade. I tend to be skeptical of teams that reshake up their roster.
And the reviews on those trades that Nico made last year weren't very good at the time, right? Now
I thought the trades were good, but they gave up draft capital for them. And which, like, Dallas coaches would text me, be like, "What do we care about draft picks?
Right.
Did we just get better right now?" And the answer was yes. So they did get better.
But my point is that when you're sitting
wouldn't have picked
here,
the Lakers in the conference finals 2 years ago. That's for sure. When
yes, so that's kind of my point. When
Sons
you
of
say,
Darvin Ham brought them there,
who could get into the Western Conference Finals? Do I think they're one of 6 to 8 teams that could get into the West? Yes. Do I think that the pool of teams of which you need to draw to get to who actually gets to the Western Conference Finals tends to be about 6 teams? Yes. Like, you probably would have needed to go 6 teams deep for the last 2 years. Not Denver 2 years ago, but other than that, right? I mean, it's just different out in the East where we can pretty much draw a line and be like, these are going to be the 4 teams.
Yeah.
But
I think right now they're looking at Houston, I think, in the first round, a 4-5 matchup. I think Houston's a bad matchup for them. I think Houston's, I think they're feisty. I think they're defensively really sharp. Yeah, they struggle finding a guy to give the ball to late in games.
That's what I would
be
concerned about.
Amin Thompson on Luka, Dylan Brooks on LeBron again. I think they've got the kind of feisty defenders that would give the Lakers a lot of problems. And they're so young and they're so active, and that's just not the Lakers' bag right now.
But do you think that they can win 4 playoff games versus Luka and LeBron and whatever chemistry they
Memphis
can
did
whip
it a
up?
couple of years ago. Yeah, Memphis had Ja Morant then. That was a difference maker. But
the Lakers didn't have Luka and LeBron. And really, they just didn't have Luka.
Yeah, that's true.
He's so good. He is better. I think Luka Doncic is a better player than anyone the Lakers have had at the level they've had it recently.
I agree. And
Luka's better than LeBron is right now. Would you say that that's accurate? Just right now.
Oh, there's a tough one because LeBron.
2025 LeBron versus 2025 Luka.
Can I just point out that LeBron James in February is averaging 30 points. He's 55% from the floor.
No, you're right.
And 46% from 3
You're
right now. This is before the game on Tuesday, so
by the way,
the stats will be updated. But LeBron is averaging 30 in the month of February.
I shouldn't be so flip. I guess I'm just thinking 40-year-old dude versus 25-year-old
I mean, long term, of course, he's next season as well.
No, but now, what would you say if you had to rank the top 5 players in the league? Would Luka be ahead of LeBron?
I mean, Luka's missed so much time.
No, right now on the court today.
That's a tough question to answer because, what's the criteria? Is he?
My criteria is that when you go into a playoff series, who is on the other side of the court against that young Houston team, scrappy defensive Houston team that you're talking about? And do they have a player as explosive as Luka Doncic the last time when you're saying, oh, in that last matchup versus Memphis, et cetera, et cetera? I just think that
the Lakers won that series, so that's, I mean.
I just think that Luka is explosive. I think LeBron does, can do it when he needs to. I think that a lot of the ways that JJ has them playing and the energy we just talked about, I'd pick them in those early rounds.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a conversation worth having in a month when we see if all of this is sustainable. Again, some of these defensive numbers are freaking wild. Yeah. If these hold up and we're still talking about the Lakers being a top 5, even top 10 defensive team a month from now, then I'll buy into them as a true conference finals contender. But right now, I just think that they're riding the wave of something. LeBron's out of his mind. Luka had a great game against Denver's best game by a country mile. as a Laker, starting to get kind of his joy back. I hate using that word, but getting his joy back.
You hate joy.
I
this is
don't,
what I've learned about you.
well,
Since
it's like,
doing
no,
this podcast
I love
together.
joy. I am a joyful, I'm not a joyful person. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I'm a joyful person. But I kind of, roll my eyes at times when athletes talk about finding their joy. Like you're getting paid a ton of money to play a game. All right, like
Chris Mannix hates joy.
I do. There's the headline of this show. I think the Lakers are gonna finish inside that top 6 and avoid the play-in. I think they're good enough to do that. But I think whatever first round matchup they get is gonna be hard. Going to be really hard for them, because if they wind up outside that 4-5, you're talking more of the top 3 teams that are out there that are all really good.
Yeah, I would say if I had to guess, I would say second or third round, and third round is the Western Conference Finals. So
I'm going to say first round exit.
Wow,
that's what I'm going to say.
All right,
because I'm a Houston Rocket believer.
Okay,
I'm also a avid follower of history, and the Denver Nuggets have been pretty good against the Lakers in the playoffs. And to your point, Michael Malone, fool me once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to have. I thought it was interesting. JJ went into that Lakers Denver game completely saying the quiet part out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you have players, coaches. When reporters like us like to say, "Is this a measuring stick game?" and they say, "Of course not. It's a regular season game. It's 1 out of 82. It's blah 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 blah. It's this, it's that, and the other." JJ, right from the jump, was like, yes, I'm spending the 48 hours in between our previous game against Portland to this, completely doing nothing but game planning for Denver. I'm not sleeping. I'm not napping. I'm not this. I'm not that. He went in. He gave them a big speech beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole thing about how beating Denver was then afterward. He talked about it being a building block and how this should change the way the players themselves think about the team. I mean, this is stuff we don't normally hear coaches admit to during a regular season. I am sure that Denver heard all of that as well and was like, that's interesting. The reason why a lot of coaches and players don't say that they treat these regular season games as building blocks and measuring sticks and all of those other cliches is because we now have 4 months to game plan against all the stuff you just came up with. So I am curious to see what happens in the playoffs there.